Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and I am back again with Kelsey. How's it going?
Going great. So we are here in my store. I co-own Pink Gorilla Games, and you have been bugging me forever to do a tour of this store, and I'm shy, so I've been hesitant to show it off, but here we are today. So I'm gonna give you guys a look around if you're ever interested. We're located in Seattle, Washington, so if you're here, come on by.
All right, let's take a look.
Alright guys, welcome to the store. This is Pink Gorilla Games in the University District. This is one of our 2 locations, and right as soon as you walk in, you are greeted by this beautiful statue of Fox McCloud here. He's seen better days. He was actually stolen once, so now he's chained to the wall, but that's okay. We also have these gachapon machines, which I really like. You get a random Pokemon figurine out of them, so people seem to really like those. I wish we had more. We've got tons and tons of plushies in the store. We get all of these from Japan, so they're really nice, high quality ones you wouldn't really see anywhere else. Up on the wall here, we've got tons of empty boxes for systems. I actually have plenty more than this, but we like to have one of most every system out for display just to give people kind of an idea of what it is we sell here. So we not only have American consoles here, but we also have some import ones too. So back here we've got like a Japanese Wii, and then this is probably the coolest thing in the whole case right now. This is the I Made This edition of the Xbox One. So this was given to like the people who worked on the Xbox One when it was coming out. Launch Team 2013, it's a pretty neat little piece of history. So we don't always have a really cool TurboGrafx and PC Engines section because, well, I mean, it's not a very common console, but right now I am happy to report that we have some really cool and very, very expensive games in here. So over here we've got our Wii games, we've got our very small section of Switch games because they haven't really been traded in a whole lot yet, GameCube games, and then a bunch of strategy guides, which I really like that we carry. Not everyone still uses or likes strategy guides, especially since you can find all of this information on the internet. But I really like strategy guides because, I mean, it's got cool art in it, and it usually has nice screenshots that tell you like exactly where to go. So a lot of people do like collecting these still. So almost exactly when you walk in, you will see this awesome rare case. This is where we keep all of our handheld consoles as well as all of our pretty rare stuff. So right now we've got some selections of handhelds here. We've got a bunch of really rare NES games, including some ones that don't look like they really have any business being rare, like Wayne's World. Why is that worth so much money? Some boxed games in here, N64, Super Nintendo. There's even some games that are rare enough to be in the case even without their original artwork, like Project Justice in here. We've got some pretty cool boxed Game Boy Advance games as well, which is hard to come by, as well as some Nintendo 64 disk drive games. So that's pretty uncommon. We unfortunately already sold the disk drive, but we do still have some games remaining. So over here is kind of our super old school wall. This is where the Atari and the Intellivision and the ColecoVision and all of that fun stuff, even the Odyssey, live over here. These are not exactly our hot sellers, but I still like having a wall of them because you get people in here who remember the Atari fondly. I mean, people like Metal Jesus who love the Atari. So I like having a big wall of it even if it's not a hot seller, just because it's interesting for a lot of people to see. So this is where we start seeing a lot of the import stuff. That's one of the things that we're really big on here, is keeping a lot of games that are imported from Japan. So this is our Famicom wall. It's actually smaller than it normally is. We usually have a couple hundred more games than this, but we actually got so many NES games in recently that we had to kind of cut it down. So next to that very colorful wall is our enormous NES section. I'm very proud of this. We got an almost complete collection traded in couple months ago. It's been picked over quite a bit since then, but we still have plenty to make this awesome wall full of, I mean, hundreds of NES games. Next to that is Super Nintendo, always an awesome section, always a popular section. And next to that is the Super Famicom, which is an even larger section, I think. It's got one more row on it than the Super Nintendo section does. So this is part of our imports, are a big part of our business. You can really tell with walls like these that are just full of Japanese games. So one of the reasons that we do imports and do so many imports is because our store kind of at its core is very Japan inspired. I mean, the colorful walls, the mascot, all of that is very reminiscent of Akihabara and all the game stores in Akihabara. So we want to bring not just the feel of that back to Seattle, but also plenty of the games and the culture as well. It's definitely kind of a challenge to educate people, especially with like Super Nintendo. It's very easy to play the Super Famicom games on your Super Nintendo. So we do a whole lot of telling customers who are looking at the Super Nintendo, tell them to just look to their right. We can mod your Super Nintendo for you for free. Plenty of these games will work great for you. So original Xbox and PS2, these are both enormous sections, and they're not our most popular sections, but there's still a ton of amazing, cheap games on it. So I really try to encourage people who are not so sure they want to get back into video games, or they're just not really sure what they want. These are the two consoles I recommend all the time. There's so many amazing games on them that are like under $10. The systems themselves are pretty hardy, and I mean, just look at all of these games. There's so many to choose from compared to some of the other sections. The Nintendo 64 is one of our most popular consoles right now. Really hot, lots of people are looking for games on this. Next to that, we've got Game Gear. This is definitely not our most popular console in stark contrast. Boxed Genesis games are down here in this case, as well as Master System, Saturn, and Sega CD. You might notice that our Japanese Sega Saturn section is like enormously larger than our US Saturn section. Well, it was a lot more of a popular console in Japan, so it's a lot easier to get a bunch of Saturn games from Japan than it is to get anyone to give up their Saturn games here. This is where it gets crazy. We mostly do video game stuff here, but we also just kind of like to bring a little bit of the flavor of Japan in. So cute, adorable plush keychains, that's how we do it. And they're very, very popular. We've got a huge wall of accessories. There's some accessories above every section in the store, but for things like GameCube controllers, especially the newer stuff, PS4, Xbox One, we keep all of the accessories for that here. Now, one of the things that we do here, you might have noticed, is that we put everything in little bags and we hang it up. There's a really good reason for that. When stuff comes into the store, we test it, we clean it, we make sure that it works. So we want to seal it up and make sure that it continues to work when you bring it home. So it kind of serves two purposes. The first is to do that, so it's going to be clean when you open it back up. But the other thing is that if you try to rip one of these off the wall, it's going to make a really loud sound and we are going to notice, as opposed to just being sitting out here and you can slip it in your pocket. But for added security even more so, we do put any of the more expensive games in this case here. Anything loose that's, harder to tie onto the wall, easier to steal, goes in this case down here. We even have a small WonderSwan section. So in this case, we've got a bunch of the Pokemon figurines. These are the same ones that are in the Gachapon machines, but if you want to pay a couple extra dollars to make sure you get your favorite one, this is where you can do it. We carry some other little kind of gifty things. My favorite are these Monster Hunter blind box figurines. That's kind of a standard way they do it in Japan, is you don't know what you're going to open. It's a very popular way to bundle their toys there. So these are cool. We import them. We try to get them here as fast as possible because we're all huge Monster Hunter fans. We've got PS4, PS3, Xbox One, and Xbox 360 on this side. Obviously, people are trading that stuff in mass right now, so most of it is pretty cheap. This is our PS1 wall, and we carry games whether or not they've got their boxes, so you'll notice that some of these are just their discs only. We have two separate prices on everything, so if it doesn't have its box, it'll be a lot cheaper, and if it does have its box and its manual, it'll be a little bit more pricey. This is where we keep all of the disc-only games for all of the stuff you were seeing on the shelf. So PS2, PS3, Wii, original Xbox, Xbox 360. There's even a few disc-only PS4 games up there. So these are all, if you're kind of bargain hunting and you don't feel like you need to collect the games, you just want to play them, this is a way you can save quite a bit of money. So we do have a Vita section. Like most Vita sections, it's not the most impressive part of the store, but one of the things that's pretty cool about what we do is we actually carry limited run games. We don't mark them up or anything more than just what shipping costs on the items. We don't really make a whole lot of money off of them, but it's just kind of a cool way to provide the limited run games to people who might have missed out on them. So people in the Seattle community tend to really like that. So we do carry some card games here, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, and Pokemon. We don't do any singles, we try to keep it pretty simple, but if you are addicted to that cardboard crack, we have it. So one of the things that we're always trying to do here is make sure that no boxes get left behind. Nothing left behind. Broken consoles, broken accessories, empty boxes, manuals. I don't throw anything away. So instead it all goes into our back room, waiting for the day that we get the right disc traded in, the right cartridge traded in, or hopefully we can fix it. We do have some awesome people who can fix things here, it's just that there's always a lot to do. So we do try to make the front of the store look really cool too, to people just maybe walking by. This really cool Mario scene here was actually from a collaboration between Nintendo and Vans. I traded a PS2 for it to a Vans employee when they were taking it down. We've also got these TVs that are always playing some retro games just to kind of catch your eye. The coolest thing in this window though is definitely this old Nintendo sign. Now this is Nintendo's old logo from kind of like pre-1950s, but as far as I know, it was a retailer sign from kind of the Famicom era, so mid-1980s or so. I don't really know that much about it, but it's definitely a really cool piece.
All right, guys, well, that's a quick look of Pinkarilla in the University District, but you have another store as well.
We do. We have a smaller store in the International District. It's actually our first store, so it's smaller, but it's still awesome, still packed full of lots of games.
Lots of gaming goodness. So if you are in the Seattle area and you are a retro gamer like me, you're definitely going to want to check it out. And where can people find more information?
Yeah, so you can follow us on Twitter, Pinkarilla LLC. We actually post when we get cool stuff traded in.
Yes.
We post about it all the time.
Yes.
We try to do at least a post a day of the cool stuff that comes through the store.
I love that you guys do that because then I'm like, ooh, I've got to get in there.
Yeah. We're on Facebook, Pinkarilla Games as well. You can find our website, pinkarillagames.com. Our website's pretty much just merchandise, but if you want to support us that way, that's awesome too.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and take care. Kelsey was initially apprehensive about doing this video because, well, she's humble and she didn't want it to come across as just an ad. But the truth is, she is a huge part of the retro gaming community here in Seattle, and retro collectors like me, we love her store, as well as many of the other retro gaming stores in Seattle. We're fairly unique in that regard. We have like, I think 11 of them. So I wanted to do a video and highlight it. It's pretty cool. If you ever come to Seattle, definitely check it out.
Cool.